I'm just going to get rid of that capacitor. I'll just get that out of the way. Interestingly, that's a lot higher than this one. Yeah, that's good. 320 is good. You don't really need more than 320. Right, so how do I do this chip? How do you think I'm going to do it? Any ideas?
Put the flux first.
Put the flux first, that's a good start.
All of the pins.
Nah, that's the thing. I'm only going to do one pin. I'm going to do one pin and then I'm going to place my part and then I'm going to do the other pins. Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to choose one pin in the corner. Sorry, get lots of flux on there again. One pin in the corner. Exactly the same. The process is I'm going to heat the pin. I've got some solder on that pin, so that is going to make this one a bit difficult, but I'm going to heat the pad here. I'm going to feed in a little bit of this solder. It flows, and then I take away my, see, again, perfect, yeah? If you follow that process, you will get perfect joints every time. Pin 1, it's got a little dot here. You see that dots? Little black dots. Pin 1 on here, it's got a little dot on the top. Yeah, so I have to obviously get that in the right orientation. So I'm going to add a little bit more flux onto that piece of solder so I make sure that it flows nicely. And I'm going to take my chip and I'm going to offer it up. I'm just going to make sure it's flat. Offer it up. I'm going to heat that little pad. Make sure it's molten. Now I'm going to put my chip down. And then I'm going to take away the solder. Yeah? It's on there. Yeah? And it's perfect. It's a lovely joint. So now all I need to do is continue the other chip or other pins, yeah? So really quite easy now because it's now in the right place. I can just gently go away and solder each one of these pins one by one. So I'm just going to give you an example on here. If we find where the curve is on the soldering iron, so we know where the flat edge is. And I'm going to gently just put that there on that pin. This is going to burn the flux. I'm going to add a little bit of solder, right there. And then the flux and the surface tension of it has pulled the solder up my pin. And that's what I wanted. I don't want to overload the solder, right? I want a little bit of solder and I want it to be pulled up because the solder will travel with the heat and the pin is heating up and the flux is helping the flow. So the solder will travel to the pin. I don't need to keep feeding it. If I keep feeding it, I'm going to end up with this. Yeah, this is a bad example. This is way too much solder. I only need that tiny little bit solder, and if the flux is there and the heat is right, it will flow up the pin and make my solder joint.
You also applied flux on the pin of that.
Yeah, you can apply flux everywhere. It really, all the time. Get the flux on there. It doesn't matter. The flux is what's going to make the solder flow. Yeah. So it's important. I'm just going to do one more pin for you to give you an idea. So I know I can see my. And I'm doing this with my bare eyes at the moment. So if you can imagine, if you had a microscope, how much better that would be. Look, there's 3 pins there, no shorts, nothing. It's perfect. Yeah, first go, absolutely spot on. Any questions?
No.
No, sir.
Always check the orientation. So your electrolytic, your tantalum capacitors here are going to have a positive and a minus. If you put that in the wrong way, it will blow up, won't work. The chips are going to have your positive pin 1. You've got to be careful of that. But the rest of it can be, I would suggest practicing with the capacitors. These are really nice to start soldering. Anywhere where you see a C, one of these C2s, you can solder this capacitor down. So you do the pad first, then you push the capacitor into the solder. Everybody happy? Do you want me to show you one more or are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Happy?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. So grab yourself a board then. Grab yourself a soldering iron. Please look after the tweezers. They need to be sent back afterwards. And the flux, you might have to share a few things. Yeah? Also, just before you go, one